All right, your boy Mixmaster B here live from the MMB Radio studios for the MMB Radio podcast, where no topic is too big or too small. We talk about them all. And on the phone lines right now, I have a local act. You know, from time to time, I like to bring on different music acts, and I like to get some of the local talent in the tri-state area, Philly, Jersey, Delaware, try to get them involved and get them out there in the spotlight. And right now, I want to bring in from Bucks County, PA, Artimes Prime. How are you?
What's going on, man? First off, thank you for having me on your show. I really, really appreciate it. It means a lot.
Not a problem, man. Not a problem. And then, as I said, you are from Bucks County, is it?
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
So Bucks County, PA. So not far from Philadelphia.
No.
And when I was promoting it and saying that you're going to be on the podcast and everything, everybody was saying, it says alternative hip-hop artist. Kind of tell us what, in your own words, in your definition of what a alternative hip-hop artist is.
Well, I mean, that's hard to describe because, you know, because I guess of how it's kind of different. It's still, you know, I still do stay pretty true to hip-hop because I love hip-hop. But it's just got a different type of sound because I like to mix kind of like that old school feel and like that good hip-hop beat rhythm feel, but with new types of sounds. As far as when I select beats and things like that, you know, I'm hearing for a certain special something. You know what I mean? That's not that you don't hear, and you hear that on my newest project, Genuine Thoughts. You know, you're going to hear each beat. There's something about it. You know what I'm saying? And the way I rap, I actually started my musical journey more so in drums. So I have a pretty good understanding of rhythm. So and I apply that to when I rap. So the way kind of it flows, it does sound a lot like hip hop, but it sounds different.
Now,
that's probably the best way.
Now, a lot of people, they don't like to be labeled and they don't want to be, you know, kind of pigeonholed into a certain type of genre. And it's cool that you're doing this alternative, but like, who were some of the people that influenced you? Was it more mainstream stuff, or were you more like, you know, these like Tribe Called Quest, these ones with some kind of like social message in their music? Like, who was it that influenced you to become who you are?
Well, it's interesting because growing up, I kind of went in and out listening to hip hop because I actually grew up in a pretty like a upper middle class area. So it's actually a little place called Newtown. So I was always in and out of hip hop because hip hop was still kind of like weird in that culture. You know what I'm saying? It was still kind of like some people were into it, some people weren't. I was into it from a young age. One of the first people that got me into it was actually Eminem, just because he exploded. You know what I mean? He just exploded onto the scene. But the guy that really kicked it for me was actually Kanye West. Because when he came on, I mean, he was the first to do what he did. You know, you think of the first real hip hop artist who wasn't really a gangster. I mean, of course there are other ones who weren't totally, you know, gangsters, but as far as like his sound and his persona and the way he is, you know, and just his beats and just how everything he did, that guy really got to show me just how dope hip hop was. And then from then, I went on to discover, you know, the Nas's, you know, Tribe Called Quest, you know, and such and such.
Now, when you say you grew up in an upper middle class family, household, town, a lot of people, for ignorance, for lack of better wording or whatever, they assume that hip hop you have to talk about being in the streets and everything. What are some of the topics though that you talk about in your music that people can say, oh yeah, I relate to that? You say like hip hop was kind of like a weird thing in your town. So how do you get people who think hip hop is weird or, you know, in that kind of environment to grasp onto stuff that you're talking about and going, oh damn, I relate to that?
Yeah, right. Well, it's definitely, you know, gotten better now. Of course, when I was a kid, you know, hip hop has definitely transcended a lot of ground, even in the last 10 years. I mean, especially the last, 15, 20 years. Excuse me. But really, the things that I talk about are just a lot of my observations on life and on the world. I'll talk about my view on politics. I'll talk about just my view on life. And really, the main thing that I want to stress is just being positive and finding your passion, finding what it is that makes you tick, and going to do it, and go and do it. And as long as it's positive, of course, and just really be a positive person and put positive energy into the world. But of course, I also like to talk about just personal things about myself to let people know, like, hey, I'm not, I'm a regular person, and I go through stuff that you go through. Because also writing is a great outlet for me to vent. So I use it a lot for venting about things, that I'm having a hard time dealing with. So I think really I just try to be as honest as I can in my raps and just about my observations on everything. And I think from what I've gotten back, at least so far, people, they really relate to that, because I think as long as you're yourself, people are always going to relate to that, because real always recognize real, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Now, you're saying one of your huge influences was Eminem, and I guess whether it's worth noting or not, you are white, right? You are a white rapper.
Mm-hmm.
And
well, yeah, I am. I'm actually 100% Portuguese, but yes, like basically, I've been treated my whole life more or less like a Caucasian male, so that's pretty much, yeah.
Well, that's where I was going to get at it is, have you found it to be more of a struggle in the music, because purists are saying, oh, here's this white guy, or or who they perceive as a white guy trying to rap. Do you see, like, was there ever a struggle, and like how did you overcome that, or do you even really care? You just kind of just let it go with the flow?
I really do just let it go with the flow. Sometimes I might see little things here or there, but personally, I really think the whole race thing, I think it's a little ridiculous how we separate ourselves by race. Of course, we were basically taught that, but you know what I'm saying. So I kind of see that it's all bull, and that we're all the same. You know what I'm saying? Like we all tick the same. It's just mm-hmm. different types of cultures, but there's nothing wrong with those cultures blending. So I never really paid much attention to it, because at the end of the day, hip hop, it's not about what color you are. If you really listen to hip hop and pay attention to it, it's not about the color. It's not about where you come from. It's about being honest. It's about being real. It's about saying a real, honest and positive message.
Now you've gathered a huge following in the time that you've been rapping, and I noticed it because people are retweeting and posting stuff on Instagram and giving likes and everything that you were going to be on the show tonight. What ultimately is your main goal in the music business? Is there something that you're striving to do, even if it's not like a main goal? Let's just say you're doing mm-hmm. little small goals that you want to reach to. What is something that you want to take away from music? Is something that you want to kind of just give back to people out of this whole experience?
Well, yeah, that's definitely my main goal is definitely to give back to the people, to let to create something that helps people, deal with their day, deal with everyday lives, and hopefully helps them, and hopefully they can maybe take something away, from what I'm saying. Because I feel if I can, if I'm going through things and I tell people about it, hopefully, because I'm not the only one going through those things. So if they hear about it, then that makes them feel better. You know what I mean? And maybe that can help them. Music, saves lives every day. You know what I mean? Music is one of those things in I guess life, in the universe, sort of, that you almost feel, not almost, you feel it's stronger than us. It's a kind of a bigger force, and it sort of, can control the way you think and your emotions and things like that. So to be able to use music to help people like that, that's definitely the main goal. But of course, in order to get to that goal, I'd like to just make a living off of music.
Now, what is the biggest struggle that you've had to date as far as becoming an artist? Like, for people out there that are inspiring, people that you're inspiring to want to be in the music business, who want to be, whether it be a rapper or a singer or a producer or what have you, what is something that you say, wow, this was some hurdle that I really had to work to get over?
Um,
Because it couldn't have been all easy. I mean, I'm sure there was, struggles and, growing pains through the whole process.
Of course. A lot of it was just towards the beginning of actually making the decision to go ahead and do it. Because that was the biggest thing. I'd always flirt with music in and out. I mean, I started playing viola at age 9. I started playing drums at, I believe I was 11 or 12. Excuse me, and then that took off. So I've always been into music, and then I was in bands when I was in college, but I always liked hip hop. You know what I mean? I would go in and out, but there was always a certain love there. And I was always drawn to it. Just I think because of the rhythmic based music, and I just liked how it was different than rock. I just liked how it was a different type of sound.
Now you have. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm sorry. What?
I was gonna follow up with that and say that you're talking about the different sounds, and you had the new mixtape that's out. You're talking about a lot of these rhythmic sounds and everything. Who did all the production on this? Like, was this a lot of your stuff, or is it you have like a group that does a lot of your beats?
Well, actually, most of that was Thought Product, who is just a great. I mean, he's a great composer, great producer. He actually doesn't produce as much nowadays, but he still has stuff up because he's actually kind of he's one of those do-it-all dudes. He does video, he does photo, he does social media, he does my social media stuff, or he helps me out with that. But he did a lot of those, and his beats just spoke to me in a lot of ways. And there's one beat on that I really like by Collega, who's actually a local producer. He's part of Grand Premier Productions. Shout out to Grand Premier Productions. So yeah, he produced Too Cool for the Cool Kids. And there was, I believe, 3 songs on there done by TMC Records, which is a local, from Philly, actually. They're a local kind of studio / upcoming label. And they're awesome. There were 3 beats, They're done by Jake Summers, who's just a super talented producer and engineer.
Now, you mentioned a lot of Philly acts there, a lot of people, local people. Is there any Philly acts that you're looking to collaborate with, or you're just a fan of their music?
As far as local kids and just rappers in general, I mean, there's Squabbles, who is, I think he's 19 years old, and he has just found a way to, I mean, he does this old school hip hop sound, and he just does a great job with it, and he's very, very lyrical. He just has like that total package as far as the flow and the lyrics and everything. He's super dope. Eno, who is actually a part of TMC Records. Him and I have been working together a lot since I kind of entered the scene, and after that we actually met at a competition show, and come to find out that we actually have like friends in common and whatnot. So I've been working a lot with Eno, and he's super, super dope. And along with him, there's Human Being. He's great. And also from Trenton, there's Diverse Character with LRE. They're awesome. They kind of were some of the first people that were like, yo, kind of showed me some stuff, and I just hung out with them and got to see kind of what the local scene was like. So, I mean, all those acts are dope. I mean, this area, I mean, I could tell you for hours. This area has a lot of great acts, and that really helps you with pushing yourself. Mm-hmm.
Now, quick question here. You talk about a lot of social issues in your music. You said talking about politics and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. It's everything, the whole controversy. I mean, I guess it's a controversy. A lot of stuff talked about with the upcoming elections and everything. How much of that stuff influences you in your music? Like, do you speak on issues that the candidates are talking about on the campaign trails, and what is your thought process on everything that's going on with that?
Mm-hmm. Well, in my music, I try to speak to what matters, and I do my best to reveal a lot of, BS, basically, that they try to feed us, I feel. As long as you just kind of have some common sense and you can see. And I actually went to Temple University, and I studied media studies and production, and while there, I learned a lot about how, media works and about what they can use, and about not about basically everything. Just because you see it, that's not necessarily what it means. You know what I'm saying? So, you talk about the election with Trump and Clinton, but my view of it more is, are these really the two top dogs? You know what I'm saying? It makes you realize there's a bigger power kind of. There's something that they don't tell us. There's something that's going on because especially this year, the election almost feels like it's a show. Like it almost feels unreal. It kind of feels like it's a whole big reality TV show. And so it does make you wonder, does it matter? Does it matter who wins? Is this real? Like, what's going on here? It kind of gives you that feeling, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Well, I could definitely relate to that. It's funny. I was just saying to somebody the other day, I was saying that you have Donald Trump, who you automatically look at and say, okay, mogul, but also reality TV, kind of like a sideshow act. And then you kind of have Clinton, who everybody is familiar with. And then you see people like Mark Cuban trying to come into the picture. So I could definitely see where you're saying it does feel kind of like a reality TV show where, and it does make you question, is this the best that we have to offer in this country running for, president, So it's an interesting thought. But another question for you, because you said you had a lot of influences, and you mentioned Eminem and Kanye. Top 3 rappers of all time in your book.
It's tough for me to rank as far as best because I look at it as there's a bunch of greats. I think it's really hard to put a greatest. And actually, Eminem was someone I definitely identified with, but I actually wouldn't consider myself, like, I'm sorry, I didn't mean this to show, as a huge Eminem fan. He kind of like helped show me like him and 50 Cent and go back to Jay-Z, and then again Kanye, but Kanye was really the first dude that I was like, wow, you know what I mean, that I was wowed with. But I'll say my favorite 3 have to be Nas, Kanye West, and I actually love right now J. Cole. I mean, J. Cole is a great artist I love right now. I mean, there's tons of dudes that I could put in that time. I mean, I guess the 3, because I do love Eminem too. I just, Nas and Kanye are definitely my top 2 dudes for sure. It's tough to put that 3 spot's hard. But I guess if I had to pick a third of my favorite, it would probably be J. Cole.
Now, you obviously you seem like you're a very big fan of Kanye. Take Kanye out of the situation, okay? Because this question I was going to ask you is, if you could pick any artist to work with, who would it be? But I kind of wanted to say, like, if you're going to automatically say Kanye, but who is something that you would love to just collaborate with?
Actually, my number one answer for that would definitely have to be Logic. I absolutely love what Logic is doing. I feel like he's super, super slept on. And he was kind of he was kind of one of the dudes who showed in today's world, like, hey, it's okay to rap about positive stuff, because that was positive rap was not very rampant. And then you listen to Logic, what he does, the way he's saying it, you're like, wow, this dude, he's speaking a different type of language. He's speaking a different tongue. So I would love to work with Logic. Logic would be dope.
Now, what is being from the Philadelphia area? What's one of the best or good things about being from this area? I mean, a lot of people, you automatically hear hip hop, they say New York, LA, a lot of these other places, but Philly is kind of in the shadows a lot to some of these other cities. What's a good thing about being from the Philadelphia area?
I mean, the Philadelphia area has some great artists. I mean the Roots helped helped kind of build all this. So I mean, you can't sleep on the Roots. They're from Philly. Of course, you have Beanie Siegel, who is just he's Beanie Siegel. You know what I'm saying? He's got a sound. You have Freeway. You have, of course, Meek Mill was the guy that broke through as far as like a mainstream type of idea. And you just have really dope artists. Like if you just walk the street and you see, especially in Center City and South Street, there's so many local places to see, especially hip hop. Hip hop's definitely big in Philly, but people sleep on it. But really, of all types of music, Philly's such a creative city. artistically. I think it's finally starting to get realized in the last couple of years. Actually, I think finally people are starting to pay some attention. I actually read an article that Philly was the number one music city in the country over the last year.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, Philly definitely still feel like is in the shadows. But I think Philly's about to break out. I think there's tons of good acts that are local that keep climbing. So, and the good thing about Philly is we have that spirit. I'm obviously from the more suburbs area, but I still got that. You have that drive, which is just be better, do better, and that's what drives me. I know that's what drives a lot of us. It's just be better every single day, and that's like Philly's a work type of city. Like Philly, no matter where you come from, you have that in you. You have that like just work mentality.
A couple more questions before you get out of here. So
cool.
you're talking about the diversity in music in Philadelphia, and
Mm-hmm.
you mentioned artists like Logic, who's from, I believe, Maryland, and some of these
Yeah.
other smaller towns that are starting to come up in the music business. And where do you want to see, personally, where do you want to see hip-hop in the next 5-10 years from now? Where would you like to see the platform for hip-hop music be?
Well, I'd like for the guys who really put time into their art and they really, work for it, and they do, they do what needs to be done to get more shine, and kind of to turn it more over to the artists, which you already start to see happening especially with the internet, and now in 2016. So in 5 to 10 years, I feel like it's going to be harder to filter certain things out, and with the internet, there's going to be good artists are going to be able to have great platforms. So I think that there'll be less. I think there'll be less junk out. You know what I'm saying? I think there'll be less stuff. Now, of course, there is something to be appreciated with every form of music, but with hip hop on the radio, I would say it's a lack of diversity of hip hop. Hip hop has grown so much, and a lot of it isn't played on mainstream radio. So I think with maybe mainstream radio dying, maybe within the next 10 years, and the internet taking over, I think you're going to see a bigger diversity of hip hop. Just like rock, it started out, blues, and then rock, rock and roll, and then it bursted out. That's why like alternative rock. That's why I kind of thought of alternative hip hop. So I think you're going to see a lot more different types of hip hop music. You're already seeing it now any day, but I think nowadays anyway, but I think you're definitely going to see it multiply within 5 to 10 years. That's what I'd like to see, and I think that's what's going to happen.
Well, one of the biggest complaints, or something that's always being brought to my attention as far as mainstream radio and playing music, and especially when it comes to hip-hop, is a lot along the lines of what you're saying, is that there's so much music out there that's not being noticed, that's not being played, and it seems like the same songs are being played on mainstream radio. And that's been a problem for ages with almost every genre of music. It's they kind of keep you captured in this little cage of like, these are the only 5 artists you can listen to, and they all sound the same except they got different names. Right. And I loved your answer with that, because like I can totally see that in 5 to 10 years, like you said, where a lot of stuff gets weeded out, and you're like, oh wow, there's this actor, there's this act, So it's really cool to hear that there's artists out there that are thinking a lot along the same lines as some of the listeners. And also wanted to make mention of your social media. I know you're blowing up on there. I know you got the SoundCloud. So let everybody know where they can find you at on social media, and where they can find out more about you and take a listen to some of your stuff.
All right, cool. Yeah, for sure. Well, you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Artimes Prime, but it's spelled ARTIMES _ PRIME. And again, that's ARTIMES _ PRIME. You could find me on Tumblr at The Real Artimes Prime, and that's all just one word. And Facebook, Artimes Prime, I'm on there. And SoundCloud, same thing. And you can get Genuine Thoughts. You can stream it on SoundCloud, but it's also on Spotify. It's on iTunes. Google Play. I think it's on Xbox Live. Wherever, pretty much wherever you can find music, you will find Genuine Thoughts. You can also get it straight from me if you want to contact me. I will be getting a website soon as well, within the next few months probably. So be on the lookout for that. So that'll be cool, and then you'll be able to keep up with me more. But until then, you can just keep up with me on social media, because that's where I share everything. Yeah, so you just follow me on social media, and then you'll be able to keep up with all things Artemis Prime.
Now, one of the things I meant to ask, too, was how did you come up with the stage name Artemis Prime?
That was actually, I believe, just a friend said it at a joke one time when we were hanging out, and I just thought that was a really dope name. I thought that was really cool. It just sounded cool to me. And then when I actually first started just putting up freestyle videos on YouTube, I was at that age. I was a sophomore in college. I was like 20 years old when I finally was like, I'm going to put up some videos on YouTube. I went by the name RDT, and then slightly after I changed it to Artemis Prime, just because I thought that was just such a dope name, and it gets makes people go, what, Artemis Prime? You know what I'm saying? So yeah, it's pretty much just because it's cool.
Now, because when I first heard, everybody's like, "Oh, Transformers," and people were asking me like, was Transformers, one of his favorite shows or something growing up? So they were wondering if that's how you got the name.
I mean, I'm not gonna front. It was not, but I think I watched the first 2 movies and I thought they were dope as shit. So like, I had no problem associating myself with Transformers, because as far as the CGI, as far as like the technology that was used in those movies, I was like, this is crazy. This is an insane movie.
Uh-huh. Now, so the Artemis Prime name, and did you have a name that you were kind of? I mean, I know you said already that you were going with before, but did you growing up? Did you kind of like dream of like different names that you wanted to be, and what was some of the names that you kind of came up with?
Well, actually, that's the thing. Growing up, and I talk about it in Genuine Thoughts, I was never quite sure. I always knew I wanted to do music because I heard of Michael Jackson from a young age, and I always knew I wanted to be, I always wanted to perform for people. I just, again, because of growing up in the area I grew up in, it was kind of an inner turmoil of sort of like figuring it out, so I never knew if it was quite rapping that I wanted to do. But I thought about it like probably starting in like middle school, something like that. And yeah, I always thought of just the name Art, because that's what people call me, or RDT. That's when I first started thinking about it. I would, it was Art or RDT, something like that. And then it wasn't until I got older and I heard Artemis Prime, I was like, that's a sweet name.
So you have the Genuine Thoughts mixtape out on SoundCloud. Are you going to be doing any performances anywhere anytime soon? I mean, Memorial Day is kicking off, summer season's here.
Yes.
Where can people see you out there live?
I will be actually on Sunday, May 29th, I believe. Hang on a second here. I got to, because I don't want to give you false information. Yes, at May 29th at the Good Life Lounge, I will be performing. Actually, it's also a hip-hop / comedy show. It's starring Richie Redding, who is actually fresh off from touring with Cat Williams, and it's hosted by a local comedian, IMD. And I'll be performing there. It's a comedy music showcase. And I believe it starts at 8 p.m. Yes, it starts at 8 p.m. So you can get there. And, so that's to see me next. And I'll also be in, if you want to see me audition, I'm going to be at a live cypher June 16th in Brooklyn for Team Backpack. It's Mission Underground, New York, and I'm going to be one of the artists competing to be part of a live Team Backpack cypher. So if you want to see me spit some hip-hop bars, I'll be there on June 15th through the 18th. So, yeah, you can come there for that.
Well, Artemis Prime, I appreciate you coming on, talking to us, and like I said, it's cool to hear some of these Philly acts, and for all those people out there going to say that I was biased and had him on because he's a Temple guy, because I'm a Temple alum myself, so
nice.
It was not the case, it's just, I just appreciate raw talent.
But you know what? I mean, Temple Owls, I've noticed something else about Temple Owls, the same thing. We all just figure out a way to do what we love to do, and we just work at it. I've noticed that in almost every one I know from Temple has that same attitude. I'm just going to do what I'm going to do, and I'm going to rock at it.
Hey, it's like the motto say, you temple tough and temple made. You know, you just
Exactly.
gotta keep striving for more and more. You know, like you said, it's that Philly mentality. Even if you're not from Philly, I mean, I'm in South Jersey,
That's true, yeah.
but you have that mentality. You know what I mean? And I think a lot of it's
Right.
because, like I said, we were always in the shadows of New York City and these other big towns and big cities. So you kind of have to scrap for everything. But it's really
Yes,
cool though.
yes.
Like I said, that you're doing your thing, and I was listening to it on SoundCloud, and you can go ahead and get it on SoundCloud, or you can also go on mixmasterb.com and stream and download Genuine Thoughts. Make sure you go listen to that, and even if you're on Spotify, a lot of people, you're heading down the shore this weekend, throw on the Spotify while you're cruising down there and just take a listen to it. And, you know, it's definitely something different, and it's really cool to have you on, and you know, we really want to see a lot of local acts, you know, get put on and go on a bigger stage, and hopefully you're one of those acts.
Yes, that's absolutely, and I appreciate you having me on again. Thank you. You know, I always love doing this stuff, having a chance to talk to people and just talk about what I'm doing. It's cool to see, you know, people share similar visions. That's always a good thing.
Well, we appreciate it again, and we hope to hear more things from you in the future.
Yes, absolutely. There will be much more coming soon. Yes.
All right, man. You have a good one.
All right. Thank you. You too. All right, everybody, what's going on? It's your favorite rapper, Artimes Crime, and you are listening to Mix Master B on MMB Radio.